Hi, I'm Melissa Bill, and welcome to the Business Roundup, where we catch up with the movers and shakers in the business world. Today, joining me is founder of Best Lifing Retreat and the best-selling author Julia Brodska. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me.
So when it comes to whether you're a business or personal life, how you feel is probably, and just your health and wellness is something that we take for granted. But when it's not there, it can really play havoc on everything you do. You can't really be the most, that you can be, and you can't really give everything of yourself. So I know a lot of times people have a trouble like slowing down and taking the time they need to have like that time to themselves, kind of recuperate and recharge. So we're going to talk a little bit. I know what you do is custom luxury healing and wellness retreats, right? On demand.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, perfect. So can you talk a little bit about your background and just kind of how you got into this industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey really started with my own personal healing and growth that needed to happen. So I was born in 89 in Ukraine when the USSR was separating and my family lost everything. And my mom decided to move us to Australia. My dad was really sick at the time. He had a stroke and got dementia. And over my younger years growing up, I developed a lot of limiting beliefs around money and intelligence, what I could and couldn't do. And my father passed away when I was 10. I was bullied in school and I had a really challenging childhood. And from there, I kind of went off the rails a little bit. So I was running away from home and getting arrested. And ultimately, what I was doing before I got into the drugs and alcohol, I was essentially expressing the pain that I was feeling inside onto the exterior world. Then I found myself in a relationship where I thought we were going to get married. We were dating for 7 years, and then it ended up in physical violence. And that was kind of the moment that I realized that this isn't what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I was in my early 20s at this stage. I was 40 pounds heavier than I am today. I had no purpose, no ambition. And ultimately, I was also in $80,000 worth of debt. And just ultimately, I had no idea what I wanted to do or be, or didn't even know what I could do, be, have, or become in the future. And so all of these moments led up to me asking my own questions. And the first question I started with was, wanting to find one happy person out there. I believe that there had to be someone who was experiencing this thing called happy. And I believe that whenever the student is ready, the teachers will always arrive. And from there, I ended up joining a gym because I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to get out of $80,000 worth of debt at that point in time. So I started meeting new people and they introduced me to the universe, the law of attraction, and different things like that. At the time, I was always working in corporate and I was doing corporate training. I've got a background in psychology and pretty much I used to build curriculums and help people understand different programs. And then over the years, I evolved it into my own teachings. And now we focus on creating fulfillment in the 7 areas of life. And just like you said, if the physical body's not in order, it's really hard to get anything else into shape too. So we definitely always start there. Mind and body is the first place.
Yeah, and I think because I know, and I mean, I think in a way you're kind of lucky. It took me probably in my 30s to kind of figure things out. I just wanted to take the rough road as well, always having to like go through the challenges and, that like you were saying, who you surround yourself with, the positivity, and it can make a world of difference as well into your just, how you feel about yourself, what you say to yourself, and that type of thing. And you kind of took that experience, and then what made you kind of say, okay, I want to pay this back to other people. I want to help other people out.
Yeah, eventually it just didn't really make sense to do anything else. I'd been writing a book called Best Lifing. I was not confident enough to publish it 15 years ago, but I was writing it to kind of make sense of everything that I understood life to be. And at the very least, I thought, if I ever have a bad time again, I can come back to this and remember what I learned, or maybe I can share it with my kids one day or something like that. I never wanted to publish a book book, put myself out there. These are all of my deepest and darkest stories and the lessons that I learned from them. And as I was writing the book, it kind of took me on my own healing journey of figuring out what all of this life meant to me and the different processes that I could put into place to prevent myself from, you know, kind of falling apart again, essentially, because in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety. I was put on medications. I was told that I was suicidal. And, I just somehow knew that that wasn't me. That wasn't the real person that I was. And I'd become a victim of my circumstances. And so ultimately, then life took me on a journey. I wanted to go on an adventure. So I moved to Miami just for fun, no plans to publish a book or start a business. And I worked for corporate out here for a few years. And then in COVID, I lost my corporate job. And that was when I decided, you know what, it's time to step into something different. And also, I could feel not only the lack of security in working for corporate at a time like that, but I could feel that there was something greater calling me. And I wasn't really inspired teaching business content anymore and policies and procedures and things like that. So I thought, I have all this knowledge and all this information, and I published the book. And that was the scariest thing that I ever did at that point in time, really putting myself out there. I remember thinking, there's going to be people that are going to be mad that I wrote about them. There's going to be people that are going to be mad that I didn't write about them. But at the end of the day, I just have to release this story and overcome myself, and then that might be able to help people. And within 10 days it became an international bestseller, so it gave me a healthy hit of confidence that I needed to move into the next step, and ultimately this became a business.
Right. You knew you were in the right direction. You're like, okay, I have something here. Yeah, that's amazing. And now, so it's called Best Lifing Retreats. Is that the name of the company?
Yeah, that's the name of the book that started it. So, Best Lifing is all about helping people overcome their limiting beliefs and create fulfillment in what we call the 7 areas of life. And then the retreat center is the experiential way of doing it. So now, 8 years later, we have over 200 different healers, teachers, coaches, and medical experts and scientists on the team. And we have over 30 different healing modalities, everything from meditation and yoga to hypnotherapy, to acupuncture, massage, and the whole entire spa environment. And we have 7 locations around the country, so we're able to, serve people in many different places. But we also do destination retreats all over the world. So yeah, that it's definitely been a journey. But ultimately, people always ask me like, "How did you do this? How did you come up with the idea and start the business?" I really have to say, it's about following your intuition and following your heart and your guidance. Everybody has access to it. The thing is, we usually live in this high state of stress, or this state of high beta, where we can't even hear that. We're constantly in fight or flight mode. Most people come to us for a retreat for some kind of reason of stress. They might have a different story. They might have different situations, whether it be work or the kids or their relationship. But ultimately, it's not being able to manage the stress. And if we can't get out of fight or flight mode, we can't possibly listen to our intuition and guidance. And I think that's really what I learned to do in this journey, is just create a clear channel, a clear space in myself through, different healing modalities, meditations, and things like that. And then I was able to follow that intuition and really just say yes to the next fun thing. And then that ended up being a business that kind of built itself.
And now, can you walk us through some of the things like guest experience? Like what are some of the first things you kind of focus on?
Yes, so we have 2 types of retreat offerings. So we've got our private retreats. So usually people will come to us with some kind of a challenge that's going on in their life. Maybe they're going through a divorce, or maybe somebody's passed away, or their kids are leaving the nest. And once we understand, what the purpose is and what their goal is and what kind of transformation they're wanting to make, we curate an itinerary based on what time and budget they have available to them, to help them curate a retreat that's going to achieve that goal. So sometimes people come just for a half day or a full day retreat experience. Other times it could be 3 days, 5 days, 30 days, whatever people are wanting to do. And depending on what they're working on, we're able to facilitate that in the private sense. So that could be literally one person person by themselves having a retreat, or it could be a couple, or we have like groups that come in sometimes for fun things like birthdays, bachelorettes, and of course, corporate groups as well, anywhere from 10 people to 5,000 people. So very intimate or big scale productions. And then our signature retreat is the Quantum Peak Retreat, which we take you on a journey of self-discovery and transformation. So this is where maybe you want to do a more group setting with a bunch of people who are aligned in the same kind of exploration or the same areas of their journey. And it's all about self-discovery and transformation. The transformation pieces in the 5-day itinerary that we create and the different healing modalities and teachings that we do throughout the week. And then the self-discovery piece is through the science and testing. So we actually validate what happens to you within your body. It's not just you leave feeling good and, we did some woo-woo meditations. Well, actually, we're going to show you what happens in your mitochondria, your microbiome, your gut health, your brain waves, your bioenergetic field, internal organs, meridians, energy centers. We do very detailed testing so you can walk away and see what actually happened to your body. And we've seen some very profound results in these retreats.
I know we were talking about that a little bit before. Like, I mean, the science is really there, and we were talking, and even age. Like, you've seen where it's actually subtracted age from somebody. Like, can you talk about like how does like the stress and the different things that are going on? How does that like lead to like quick, like faster aging within people?
Yeah, so if you're constantly living in the state of survival, right, your brain is going to have a thought and then onto that thought is going to latch another one and another one. And if we don't do anything to deliberately intervene that thinking and that thought process, then what's going to happen is we're just going to go on the journey of those thoughts. Now we've got 80 to 100,000 thoughts every single day, and most of us just honestly accept them all without even questioning any of those thoughts. Now, if they're thoughts that are good for you and they're serving for you, like I'm beautiful, I'm confident, I'm strong, I'm doing a great job, fabulous. We want to keep those thoughts. They're very, very important to have that underlying confidence to be able to take on your day or your week, or your lifestyle. But then sometimes we have thoughts that are not serving to us. So that could be, I can't, or I don't know how. And all of these things, they're not necessarily true. We're just subscribing to that belief. And so as we have that challenging thought come into the experience, you might have a thought of I can't, but you can correct it pretty quickly. You can say, I can't, but you know what? I can learn. There's, infinite information out there now. And there's no reason why we couldn't learn something except for the belief thinking that we can't. And so then what happens is your brain's going to send signals to the body, which are going to create specific genes, chemicals, proteins that are going to keep you in survival. The conscious mind's job is to make sure that we stay in survival. And so as we do that, what we're doing is we're adding extra stress on the body. Now, of course, fight or flight mode is really good for us to switch on those chemicals and switch on the body in a specific way when we're running from a bear, but it's not that good when we're sitting in peak hour traffic, feeling the same stress and anxiety within the body. And so over time, no living organism can sustain itself in that kind of a state. And so over time, we start to cause a lot of damage and harm to the body by doing that. And in the retreat, what we found is through, especially hypnosis is one of the core focuses of our retreats, but also the teachings and helping people understand what exactly they're doing and how that impacts them. Then what happens is we create new neural pathways and the body now starts to allow itself to relax and move into alpha brainwave state, which is our creative, more relaxed state, or theta brainwave state, where we're now open and susceptible to new suggestion and new information. And then what we do in that state is we start to reprogram your beliefs, and then your body starts to heal itself, especially in the delta sleep state. And so at this retreat we just did in October, we had 30 people that did a scientific study throughout the 5 days, and we tested when they walked in the door, different things. And we did the blood, we did hair samples, we did their energetic fields, and we also did all of their internal organs. And we got a really nice, 360 view of everything that was going on within their bodies when they walked in the door. And then we also tested at the end of the retreat after they've spent 5 days in this immersive experience. And one of the great things we saw, I mean, we saw many amazing data points, but one of the great things that we saw was the biological age and how much it reduced. Now, to put it in perspective, if you went to a clinic today and you got your biological age testing done and you found out on the report you were 10 years old, they're going to tell you, let's make these lifestyle changes. Let's take these supplements, fitness, workout, do all these things differently. And in a year, you might reduce, if you're very consistent, in a year, you might reduce 2, 3, maybe max 5 years off your biological age if you do this really well and consistently. Well, what we saw is in these 5 days of transformation, 100% of the group, all 30 people, reduced their biological age between 15 and 35%. And the oldest person in the room was 87, and she was not the 15%. This is in 5 days. Like, the scientists were mind blown when they saw the data and information. And yeah, so that's part of the journey that we're going on. We want to know what is actually happening within the body and how powerful the mind actually is, and its innate healing ability to be able to do something as amazing as that.
That is amazing. And I think it kind of shows too, like, we put a lot of focus on, what you eat, working out. Working out does help like release the stress, definitely. And it gives, so my point was, is that, we talk a lot about just, exercise, eating right, and that type of thing, but we just forget how powerful our brain and what we're saying, because it's, it's going all the time, whether you're, even when you're in sleep mode, it's processing information and that type of thing. So I think, do you think this is a field that's probably going to keep going and expanding as far as us learning more about this?
For sure. I think, the mind is the powerhouse to everything that's going on, whether it comes to healing and its ability, or even just the motivation to want to create any change in the life. And it's so important to have a healthy mind for everything else to fall into place. And I think these ancient healing modalities, even in the last decade that I've been in the field and observing it, it's become much more popular. You can see, with the internet, the power of the internet, the education that's out there now, and people are really discovering it. Like, it's been around for thousands of years. This has worked for people, and there are thousands of books on, healings and spontaneous remissions, and, really incredible things that we can do with the power of the mind. But ultimately, longevity has become really popular as well. And I think those two go hand in hand, because if we want to live longer, that's one thing. But do we want to live longer and be miserable? Or do we want to live longer and have a beautiful, happy, healthy, abundant, joyful life? And I think people are really starting to ask that question. And what I see in the travel experience or the travel business is that people are no longer wanting to, everybody's working hard. Everybody's out there, barely getting a week or two off every year, whether you're a business owner or you work for corporate. We have very limited time off for holidays. And I just think that the days are kind of going past us where people, want to go and sit at a hotel and drink margaritas on the beach all day, and then come back needing a holiday from their holiday. People are asking deeper questions now. We're all getting called into something greater, and people want to come back with like newfound clarity and understanding of themselves, and they want to feel refreshed and rejuvenated to go and, live their best life, to go to work and be a higher performing person, to achieve better things and achieve new goals and desires. And so you see that this retreat business is booming. They call it wellness tourism. I think it hit the trillions last year. Not that there's anything wrong with drinking margaritas on the beach, but it's just not the only thing people are searching for anymore. It's not the holiday that people are seeking.
That makes sense. No, I know. And you have another event coming up, right? Is it in February? Quantum Peak Retreat?
Yeah, so this is our signature retreat. We were going to wait a little bit longer, but everyone was so excited, so we pushed it forward. It's going to be February 27th to March 2nd, and this one is in Miami Beach, Florida. So right here in the beautiful Carillon Miami Wellness Resort, and we're going to be doing morning meditations on the beach, and then a unique, very unique itinerary, which most of it we keep a surprise because we like to keep people in the unknown and ready to surrender and learn through that, so that they can have that applied to their real life day-to-day experience.
Wonderful. And I know hopefully we can get, well, we want to definitely have you back on, but we can get maybe some behind the scenes of what happens and some video and some clips from that, because that'd be really, really cool to kind of just show people.
Yeah, and like some of the testimonials that we had at the first retreat, they really blew my mind. You know that people are coming and they're probably going to be feeling quite stressed, but the number one reason that people gave us was how stressed they are. And we actually measured it too. So when people walked in, we do what's called an alpha response rate. So pretty much what that is alpha is that creative, calm, regenerative brainwave state, and you want to spend some time there every single day, rather than, like, beta is important when we're thinking and when we're focused, but high beta becomes that fight or flight mode. And so if we don't do things to bring ourselves back, like meditation or relaxation, whether it be having a bath or going for a walk, if we don't bring ourselves into that alpha brainwave state, then again we're not giving ourselves time to really open ourselves up to creativity and regenerate the body and relax. And so when we measured the group on arrival, they were pretty stressed, and we do it like an intake form as well, and they answer the question about how stressed they feel, and everybody was like 9 or 10. And we see this all the time in our retreats. And at the end of the 5 days, this does not have to take. It's not. It doesn't have to take a lifetime. It's not as huge a mountain that we have to climb that we might think it is. The changes were so profound. 100%. Oh, no, sorry. All but three people, their alpha response rate reduced between 60 and 85%. And the other three people were like off the charts 2000%. But 100% of the group really improved their alpha response rate, which is really what that means is when something stressful happens, which it will, life will continue to give you challenges to help you grow, to help you step into the next manifestation that you're asking for. But as you're going through those challenges, how quickly does it, take you to get back into a healing and creative state?
Right. So you're kind of learning. That's a good point too, because you can, kind of go to the retreat and but you have to take those skills or those things that you're learning too and kind of take it with you and grow and use them in your everyday life. So that's kind of like the mission.
Yeah, exactly. Because we don't want to do a beautiful 5-day retreat, feel amazing, and then go back to the old self, very quickly. And so we teach these tools and practices so you can take what you like. There's over 30 healing modalities. You might really like breath work, but you might really not like meditation. And you can choose what resonates for you and go implement that into your day-to-day experience, and also use it as a coping mechanism, because things will still come up, and you'll be able to then know, okay, it's all within me. I have the power to control all of this. Let me come back to one of these tools that I've learned. Let me, reframe my belief and my experience. Let me ask myself some questions about why am I feeling or responding this way, and get to the root cause of what's actually going on for you.
It's amazing. Like I said, I'd like to definitely come and check it out one time, or even do a retreat. That would be. I think I definitely need it. I'm one of those in the top stress levels.
Yeah,
And yeah,
most of us are if we don't do anything to intervene that. Honestly, most of us are. It's so easy to just get caught up in the day-to-day, never make time for ourselves. We've got work, we've got kids, we've got the husband or the wife, we've got so many things to do. But ultimately, you can't do anything or be anything for anybody until you pour into your own cup first.
that is very true. And now, if people wanted more information, what would be the best way to find it?
Yeah, our website is bestlifing.com, or you can call or text us on 507 Lifing. So that's LIFEING, or 507-5433464.
Okay, well, perfect. Well, I really appreciate you joining us today. It's been a pleasure.
Of course, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining the Business Roundup, where we always try to bring you interviews with some of the leading people in business, whether it be technology, finance, or energy. I hope you tune in. I hope you subscribe and listen, and we'll give you updates for new interviews that are coming up. Until next time, I'm Melissa Bell.